Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this very first edition of our new event, On the Way Up. During this program, we'll have the pleasure of telling you a bit about CSR vision and challenges for Manitou Group, with plenty of contributions and special guests. Michel Denis, President and CEO of Manitou Group, Hervé Rochet, Corporate Secretary, and Aude Brézac, CSR Director, are all here to reveal how CSR has become a part of the group's development, the connection between the CSR roadmap and the global strategy to 2025, and the action plan that has been developed as a result. Hello, all of you.
Hello, Frank.
Hello, Frank.
Let me turn to you first, Michel. Why have you decided to bring us here today?
We are here to share our achievements and our ambitions in the area of corporate social responsibility, or CSR. It's an area that we've been extremely committed for the past 10 years. We are continuing in this direction with a lot of humility. Indeed, we are making our own small contribution, and we are doing not on our own, but with all our stakeholders.
And what does CSR mean for Manitou Group?
CSR is at the heart of our mission. Our mission at Manitou Group is to improve working conditions, to improve safety, to improve performance all around the world, while protecting the people and their environment. So CSR is not something that we are doing incidentally, I would say. It really does lie at the heart of our positioning.
And to illustrate your words, please watch a short video. So, Michel, this is what leaders do.
Yes, and Manitou Group, we've always taken decision for the long term. We make machines that are built to last. In the company also there is a family culture. We take pride of the shirt we wear. We pay attention to all our employees.
And is this strategy therefore consistent with the history and culture of the group?
Yes, it is. You've seen it in this video. You've seen it. It is a strategy that is going to guarantee our future. Because our future is tending towards a business model revolving around the usage of the machine, the impact of the machine, and not the acquisition of the machine. It is therefore a position that is going to endure over time at Manitou Group. And I strongly believe that it is the only one. And this is the right one.
Thank you, Michel. Hervé, why have you chosen to present your policy in this way?
Frank, we have a goal of sharing what we do with our stakeholders because they must be an integral part of our CSR. It's a goal of sharing and it's also a goal of transparency. We also want to report back to all the people who last year contributed to the CSR survey that we conducted and gave us a lot of ideas how to build our new strategy. We are reporting back to them to tell them about our concrete actions.
Thank you, Hervé. Aude, do you think that people have fully taken on and understood the group's CSR approach?
No, I don't think so. Our job is to explain our approach more simply and bring it to life. Our policy is sometimes misunderstood, and we want to inspire other companies, in particular in our value chain, just as we can inspire ourselves. Each CSR strategy must be adapted to its sector and activity, but there are some successful processes, stories that are worth sharing so that we can all improve together.
Well, we can't wait to find out more, so let's kick off with the first part of this program. As Michel has just said, CSR has been rooted in the group's mission for many years. Here are a few newsworthy initiatives in this short video. Michel, what comes to mind when you watch this video?
When I watch this film, I think to myself that for a long time we were doing CSR without knowing it. Our assets were sustainability, local presence, so we were headed in the right direction.
And what about when you arrived?
When I joined the company in 2014, CSR was written into the targets of the company. But it's true that we had to insist a bit to make our voices heard. And the early days were not always easy.
What do you mean by not always easy?
As an example, in 2014, we decided to recommend our customers, to increase the change of the interval for changing the oil. It's good for customers, it's less consumption, it's a saving, it's less impact on the environment, and it was not a big deal on a technical standpoint.
And what did you do?
I had to go out and preach the gospel to our dealers and internally, because some people were thinking that I was killing the business because we were maybe going to sell less oil. And I had to explain that our business is not to change as many parts as possible or to change as much oil as possible. And I had to go and tell this to the people everywhere.
And what support did you have to do it?
I had support from the company. When I joined the company, I was fortunate to have a board of directors that listened to me on all those topics. So I started to speak about services, about TCO, about consumption of the machine, reducing consumption of the machine. And once they got over the surprise, they really supported me.
And so how did this happen in practical terms?
In practical terms, we designed a roadmap for 2022, Ambition 2022. And we created, which is very important, indicators, KPIs, relating to all our stakeholders with this roadmap and to quantify all our objectives. And it was a major step to give substance, to embed, to incorporate CSR within the company at all levels.
Thank you, Michel. Hervé, you were already in the group before all these events happened. What do you think about how far we have come?
Yes, Frank. In Manitou Group, we started to talk about CSR in 2010. We felt that things were starting to shift and that the challenges were for the companies were going to become more important. At the time, we had just emerged from the 2008 crisis with a lot of criticism about the excesses which led to this crisis. But many companies were still doing some greenwashing.
Thank you. And how did you get started then?
In 2011, we decided to create a dedicated CSR function without being fully clear about what that really meant. Before we recruited, the general secretary of the time, I was holding another position at that time in the group, went and took a 6-month training course in CSR issues and then wrote up the job description.
And what happened next?
Next, we immediately created a transformational position. This is where Aude came and joined us in 2012. When she arrived, the first thing we did was to draw up a state of affairs, a 360-degree audit with all our stakeholders, our clients, our suppliers, which help us to identify priority actions. And from the very beginning, our approach focused on the high-stakes subjects with the intentions of building something that would become increasingly broad.
And what obstacles did you identify?
The very first one was to understand and get people to understand what CSR is. That isn't about just switching off a light bulb or reducing paper consumption. And to do this, we had to free up time and train our teams. And one key issue was to have enough resources allocated to the long term. The second difficulty that we had was a lack of continuity and the difficulty of making progress everywhere in the world.
Aude, as Hervé just said, you arrived in 2012. What did you do after this 360-degree audit?
After the consultation with our stakeholder, which Hervé mentioned, we launched our elevation plan in 2012. This was a real strategic turning point in the deployment of a CSR approach among all our stakeholders. We were addressing some key issues, so we had to get everyone on board and convince them, and it was an opportunity for the company. This elevation plan was highly structured and built around close partnership with our supply chain, powered by men and women, measuring engagement, safety, development, appeal, mobility, and provide sustainable solutions.
And what was the first key project in this elevation plan?
We choose to work on the energy consumption of our products and display the consumption of our machine on a platform open to the public.
So is this the Reduce program?
Yes, that's right. We were the first to communicate consumption in this way in total transparency. We were pioneers in doing this, and it worried some people. In sales, for example, they were afraid that we were shooting ourselves in the foot. But the group was able to support this move with the argument that we were making a double saving the environment and saving cost. And in the end, that helped our employees to grasp the utility, the sense, the advantage of a CSR approach.
And did you run other initiatives among your supply chain?
Yes, we did this in 2012. We then created a responsible purchasing charter, and we set ourselves the target that 80% of our suppliers by purchasing volumes sign the Manitou Responsible Purchasing Charter.
But what's in this charter?
We set out all requirements in terms of CSR, human rights, ethics, social aspects, health and safety, environment. It is a set of criteria on which we assess our suppliers, and we include it in our invitation tender.
In fact, you have more than 200 signatures today, and to prove it, we have got this interview with the supplier Poquelin, who talks about the charter.
Poquelin Hydraulics is a historical partner of Manitou Group, supplying hydraulic motors, pumps, and valves for the transmissions of their machine. Like Manitou, Poquelin is a French family business. Poquelin Hydraulics signed Manitou's Responsible Purchasing Charter in 2016. Manitou has been one of the early communicators of their company performance regarding environment, social responsibility, and governance, displaying their commitments in terms of CSR to all their stakeholders. This has inspired Poquelin, which introduced during the same year its first CSR charter based on its 4 core values. Manitou and Poquelin share common values which are critical for the sustainability of their respective business and their strategy. Poquelin's ambitions, as expressed in its strategy, is targeting a renewed CSR charter and focus on 4 of UN-promoted Sustainable Development Goals. It comes as a no surprise that 3 of those goals also belong to Manitou's ambitions regarding CSR. Poquelin wants to continue to be a responsible partner with the ambition to remain the first choice of its customers and at the same time to meet the expectations of all its stakeholders. Its strategy has long included its social responsibility at a time when the term CSR did not yet exist. We are sure that the historical successful relation between Poquelin and Manitou will progress even more thanks to those common values, ambition, CSR strategies, and the new development projects.
Thank you, Petra, for this interesting feedback. Michel, this commitment to CSR has been acknowledged and recognized many times over. For example, I could mention the Gaia Rating, or AGFI, or ADEM Enterprise and Environment Awards. What is your reaction to all of this?
Yeah, it's certainly encouraging that our approach is recognized. It may help to spread good practices. However, we didn't wait for this acknowledgement to act. We are acting because we are sure that it is good for our customers, for our employees, for our company.
How has Manitou Group's CSR approach been impacted by the year we have just experienced?
A trouble crisis and a pandemic. On the one hand, this pandemic has acted as a powerful accelerator. Acceleration of expectation with regard to ecological transition, with regard to digitalization, with regard to the people needs to find meaning in their work. On the other hand, we were ahead of our roadmap Ambition 22 I talked about. So this situation led us to make faster progress than expected and to redesign completely our roadmap for the next 5 years, which is New Horizons 2025.
Okay, thank you. Hervé, would you also say there has been an acceleration in these past 12 months?
Yes, absolutely. We experienced a tipping point, Frank. It's as if suddenly we woke up, and that worldwide. So really, life has been braced into process that has started a long time ago with the Kyoto Protocol signatures that was in 1997 and which has been ratified in 2005. Governmental bodies are changing attitudes, and this now translates into concrete obligations for companies and also for individuals. And as Michel just said, this has accelerated in the last 12 months.
And does this shift appear to be radical?
oh yes, this is absolutely radical. Customers today want electric machines. Every company is giving also structure to the CSR, and industry standards are deeply changing. From a financial point of view, investors and lenders also want to see ethics and are beginning to incorporate CSR criteria in the way in which they support firms and how they channel loan and investment. This was unthinkable, Frank, only 5 years ago. Everything is converging. Companies must provide answers, and that is what we are trying to do.
Thank you, Hervé. And to illustrate what you have just said, let's turn to Guylaine Deniel, who is Head of Sustainable Finance in Commercial Banking at HSBC France. Guylaine, thank you for joining us. How are you?
Fine. Thank you, Frank.
First question, what observation can you make and what market trends can you detect as a banking partner and investor?
The European Commission aims to make Europe the first carbon neutral continent by 2050, implementing regulatory framework and also harmonizing rules surrounding sustainability to channel capital flows towards projects, green projects, which will make the transformation to happen. Mm-hmm. 3 key regulations have been recently released by Europe.
So what are these 3 key texts?
Firstly, since March 2021, investors have to comply with the disclosure regulation, which requires them to communicate very transparently on the green aspects of all their products, including those which do not include ESG features. Secondly, companies are going to be affected by new reporting regulations with the Corporate Sustainability Regulation Disclosure, which has to be implemented in 2024 for companies like Manitou, which are already reporting on ESG, and SME and other forms of company will have to follow from 2026. This is going to have a substantial impact, since in Europe we are going to go from 11,000 companies required to produce an ESG reporting to 55,000 companies. It's a major change, and all the company will have to ask for a reported, which will be audited.
And thirdly,
investors and corporates will naturally have to rely on the European taxonomy in their reporting.
And what is the situation outside of Europe?
Europe remains a step ahead of Asia and the US. Also, Asia has already produced some interesting initiatives for greening the financial system and the economy, from China to Asian countries. And more recently, in the States, the Securities and Exchange Commission has indicated it will take ambitious plan as well to introduce a mandatory ESG reporting framework. So it's a powerful transformation which is happening, and we are recording new highs in terms of volumes of sustainable loan and sustainable bonds globally. And an interesting thing as well, sustainable finance recently became accessible to medium-sized company with the development of sustainability loans, which aligns the loan margin with measurable CSR metrics. These loans have grown up a lot in the last 3 years.
Thank you. How is HSBC involved in this transformation?
HSBC has been heavily involved in sustainable finance for years now. And we have an ambitious global plan to give priority to borrowing and investment that supports the transition towards a net zero global economy.
And how have you built this plan?
Our plan breaks down into 3 main ambitions. Firstly, supporting our customers in the transition to a sustainable future, which means that we aim to supply up to $1 trillion over the next 10 years. Secondly, we really need to unlock climate solution and innovation. And for instance, we have created HSBC Polynesian Climate Asset Management to become one of the world's largest managers of capital funds investing in natural resources.
And finally?
And finally, transforming HSBC to become a net zero bank by making changes both on our own operations, like any other companies, and for our customers through our financing portfolio that will need to be gradually aligned on the Paris Agreement. And
you have made a recent announcement.
Yes, that's right. In addition, we have announced a plan between now and 2030 to reduce the finances of activities linked with fossil fuels.
And on a European level, what's the situation?
On a European level, we support all our clients through transitions by engaging with sectors such as the manufacture of plastics, cement, and electricity, which are under the obligation to rapidly reduce their environmental impact. But we also supply European SMEs with innovative solutions. With the implementation, for example, of a multi-partnership of 5 experts, which aims to bring CSR expertise to our clients.
And regarding development of employees?
Yes, it's a strong issue. We feel it is critical to develop employees' awareness of sustainable development issues, and we are accelerating on training initiatives to introduce programs suited to the needs of each of them according to their job, obviously, and the level of expertise as well.
And you won recently some awards about that.
Yes, we are very proud to have received the Euromoney Awards of Excellence in 2020 for Best Bank for Sustainable Finance in Western Europe, and also in the world for the second time running.
Congratulations for that.
Thanks.
What are your recommendations for a medium-sized company, such as Manitou Group as well, to support it optimally through its transformation?
I think I would make 3 points here. Manitou Group is a parts assembler with a very wide supply portfolio, and you can't measure Manitou's CSR impact without looking at its supply chain. As we know, the group has already introduced a rating system for suppliers, including a CSR score of 10%, and progress can be made by perhaps being supported by external experts that can legitimize this approach.
You want maybe add something else?
Yes, we can also note that Manitou's environmental impact, it was already discussed here, is more connected with the use of the machines than with the manufacturer itself. And the group's carbon impact does cover this scope, and the carbon strategy, which will be out in 2022, must include the lifespan of Manitou machines, which should lead to increasingly carbon emission neutral machine production, and should therefore fulfill the sector's expectation as well.
Any advice regarding financial aspects?
From the point of view of finance and the European regulatory framework that I mentioned earlier, you have to keep in mind that all investors and financial stakeholders are going to increase their expectation towards companies like Manitou. And from this point of view, it's important for them, as it is for any other company of this size, to anticipate these changes by both implementing robust strategies, as they are doing, for example, in terms of carbon pathway, and also having commitments acknowledged by independent experts to get more credibility, as Manitou did, for example, with the Gaia rating, which assesses its CSR performance and how it improves it.
Guylaine, thank you very much for these concrete answers.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Let's see now how the CSR roadmap is fully integrated to the Manitou Group strategy. Michel, how does this approach fit into your strategy?
Our CSR roadmap really cuts across all the 4 pillars of our group strategy, New Horizons 2025. The environmental transition is one of these 4 pillars, and CSR lies at the heart of the strategy 2025. It lies at the heart of the capex of the investment, the 460 millions that we will invest from now until 2025. In addition, we are heading towards a clear and quantified carbon pathway with ambitious target to reduce drastically our carbon footprint.
That's pretty clear. Hervé, so how does this work in concrete terms?
As Michel said earlier, we redefine our New Horizon 2025 strategy with a cross-cutting CSR policy based on 4 pillars, which all include quantitative targets and where we will measure their improvement. And these targets apply to all the areas of the company. Is it purchasing, sales, transport, HR, R&D, and it applies to all subjects of every nature.
Okay, so let's take a look straight away at the development of our products with Elisabeth Ozimour, President of our product division and member of the Executive Committee of Manitou Group.
With innovation as our DNA, we will accelerate this ecological transition over the next 5 years. In particular, through the design of low-emission products. Our priority? Electricity. From now on, 100% of our new product developments will be focused on this energy. Why? Because our customers, especially in the construction market, already have strong expectations of this zero-emission product for their investment in the coming years. More broadly, 40% of the products that we will develop in the next 5 years will be low-emission products. We are working in full transparency with our suppliers to facilitate their adaptation to this ecological transition. Moreover, we are accelerating modular design and standardization to make life easier for our customers in terms of use and serviceability of our machines. We will continue to bring them ever greater productivity, and we will optimize the use of our components to reduce our environmental impact. As you know, we have decided to allocate a 460 million budget over the next 5 years to support our roadmap. We just laid the first brick with an 80 million plan dedicated to our French sites. French capacity already accounts more than half of our global production capacity. We are going to improve the safety and working conditions of our employees and equip ourselves with modern equipment that will reduce our environmental impact. Painting, robotization, and new assembly line for our machines. This investment will improve our industrial agility, generate job creation, and create value for the company.
Very interesting testimony, Elisabeth. Aude, how does this CSR roadmap work at Manitou Group?
We have chosen 4 main themes which I believe have a lot of meaning for us.
First one is human and ethical.
Yes, we strongly believe that diversity and inclusion bring us greater wealth. We also want to improve in terms of ethics. Manitou Group operates in a complex value chain with a lot of members, both upstream and downstream, and we must convey our ethical principles to all stakeholders. And this subject will require a lot of efforts in terms of training.
Another theme is the circular economy.
Yes, this is also a big issue for manufacturers like Manitou Group. We are operating in a world where resources are finite. So we are going to have to learn to do things with less. And our group wishes to offer products and services inspired by the principle of circular economy. We are working on the durability of our products from the design phase on the reuse of parts and machines.
There is also a theme dealing with safety and working conditions.
Yes, it's still an everyday priority to guarantee the safety of employees all over the world. But we have also a role to play in raising awareness among end users to good practices.
And finally, an environmental chapter with a low carbon trajectory.
Yes, today reducing companies' carbon footprint has become simply imperative given the climate issues at stake. We have to be part of the solution and contribute to the effort to reach the targets that the world's governments set themselves for 2050. This is a systemic subject which will have an impact on our suppliers, our customers, and the way they use our products.
Okay, and let me ask Hervé, how does this low carbon trajectory help Manitou Group improve?
This low-carbon pathway teaches us a lot, whether in terms of input, in terms of production, employee, building, or recycling. It is very interesting when you make comparison by product and country. It opens a lot of avenues of improvement, which will affect everyone as far as employee, and which will affect our product and even our lives.
Are there other alternatives for Manitou Group?
No other alternative. All these changes are unavoidable, and trying to swim against the tide would be nonsensical. We would be abandoning our responsibility. We have always chosen to anticipate things and get fully involved, because these changes on our market are also a source of opportunities. We can't afford to make any mistakes. This is a source of innovation. We have to invent, we have to operate differently, and also fits with the missions that we recently redefined.
Thank you, Hervé. We have just seen that Manitou Group has taken environmental and social issues into account in its strategy for many years. But the goal is to continue doing better in the long term, as we can see in the New Horizon strategic plan. So let's now turn to the present day with our third part and final part dealing with a concrete action plan for the next 12 months. Michel, let's dip straight away with human and ethical. What is the action plan for this pillar?
People and ethics have always been at the heart of the concern of the company. Our company operates thanks to men and women who are passionate, reliable, committed. We bring it to life, and we embody our innovation with dynamism. Diversity and inclusion are a priority for all of us, and our goal is to improve gender balance.
And what is the situation today?
Today, we have 19 nationalities in the top 80 of the company. Today, women make up 18% of the workforce in the group, while the average in industry is 10% in France and even much below in other countries. It's a source of pride for us. However, it's not enough. And we have to keep up our efforts, in particular to raise those topics with our international subsidiaries all over the world. And also to act on all levels. We have women welders, we have women assemblers, we have women at all levels of the firm, right up to the chairmanship of our board of directors. And furthermore, we pay the utmost attention to gender equality at Manitou Group. For example, we have achieved pay and training equality in France, or we have put in place a specific mentoring program for women within the group.
We have a question on this subject from the journalist Tanguy Mérien, BTP Magazine.
Pourriez-vous préciser les axes sur lesquels repose votre politique dite de diversité?
Aude?
We introduced indicators 10 years ago on professional equality and on disability to get a clear view on where we stood.
And so in the area of disability, where do we stand?
In 2015, we signed a partnership with an organism in France with an action plan and a governance to manage this topic. We have correspondence on all our sites and we organize an awareness week per year. One of our subsidiaries has now exceeded the minimum legal threshold for disabled workers, and we are continuing our efforts in this area.
How is the subject of professional gender equality perceived in the company?
A lot of work has been done by an internal network called Women by Manitou Group. This network has around 60 volunteer employees who engage in discussion and develop our thought processes internally. They work on breaking down stereotypes, and outside the company they go out and speak in schools, colleges or trade fairs to present our industrial jobs and make them accessible and attractive to everyone.
And what are your ambitions for the coming year?
In our new roadmap, the main challenge is to extend all the subjects worldwide, get all the subsidiaries involved. We are going to put together a professional gender equality and inclusion index at group level to take stock of the situation zone by zone and make commitments to areas of improvements over the next 5 years.
We have another question on the subject from Lindsay Anderson, KHL.
Hello, everyone. Can you specify the approach adopted to make your employees aware of the subject of CSR?
Aude?
We took the decision of incorporating CSR targets into their annual performance appraisals. This has already been introduced for the top management across all the group, starting with our CEO, and the next year we are going to deploy it for all our managers. This will be supported as well by an ambitious training program dealing in the issues specific to each job discipline. And we are also going to work with R&D with a training course on eco-design.
Let's now look at the second pillar, the circular economy. What is your action plan for 2021?
This plan really applies to all components. Manitou Group's products use hundreds of components and a lot of inputs: diesel, oil, filters. So the challenge of the circular economy is really about all these inputs.
Let's hear from Kiloutou, a client of Manitou Group, and its vision of the circular economy.
L'économie circulaire, liée à l'économie de la fonctionnalité, est au cœur des préoccupations des loueurs. Kiloutou s'en préoccupe dès le référencement des matériels, mais aussi sur d'autres étapes, comme la maintenance, qui nous permet d'allonger de façon considérable la durée de vie de nos matériels. Manitou nous accompagne dans cette démarche en nous fournissant des matériels de qualité qui durent, mais pas seulement. Il nous conseille aussi dans cette démarche d'économie circulaire. Kiloutou et Manitou avancent et travaillent d'ores et déjà sur des sujets comme l'utilisation des pièces détachées d'occasion et aussi sur d'autres sujets, d'autres projets que nous ne manquerons pas de vous présenter très prochainement.
Thank you for your testimony, Audrey. What are the main goals of the circular economy, Aude?
One of the big aims of the circular economy is to use the least resources possible. This is what our Reduce program is about. Offering our users products that require less maintenance, less filters, less oils, less inputs, and therefore generate less environmental impact. We are also working on reusing our oils. We have projects underway on oil dialysis so that we can clean them and reuse them.
And you're also working on the second life of your part, is that right?
Yes, we have developed a dedicated offering entitled Women. We offer our customers the opportunity to buy these recycled parts 30% cheaper. So these parts are remanufactured in a short and local supply circuit, and the group takes care of returning the parts, meaning that we can pool logistics and reduce transport and therefore our carbon footprint.
On this subject of the carbon footprint, we have a question from Mathieu Colombo, Costituzioni.
Parlando di seconda vita dei componenti, come andrà Manitou a gestire il riciclaggio delle batterie agli ioni di litio? Oggi è un grande dilemma.
Aude, another comment?
Yes, we are very keen to accelerate our transition to low carbon energy. So the choice of batteries is indeed crucial. In 2021, we especially choose a French manufacturer which has made specific commitments on mineral extraction. And we have signed up to commitments with our suppliers that 75% of lithium-ion batteries are reused in industry.
Interesting. Before we go further on this subject, let's listen to a few words on safety from one of our key account, Rail Products.
Manitou have been supplying the 160 Plus for our roadway vehicles for the past 8 years. Back then it was important for myself and the business to enter into a partnership with a company whose primary focus was on the reliability and the safety of their machines. Without doubt, Manitou, with a safety record and great experience and expertise, ticked these boxes. Therefore, this technical excellence, aligned with a reputation for safety and reliability of their machines, convinced us that Manitou was the right partner for us. Indeed, our machines were initially designed to work on the global railway network and needed to meet the most stringent safety regulations. Manitou not only helped us to meet these requirements, but to go above and beyond them. We are determined to meet the challenges of the times, and with the support of Manitou experience, expertise, we will continue to develop and produce a technically advanced machine for our customers This is why we can only foresee our already prosperous partnership with Manitou growing even more successful.
Thanks a lot, Derek. Michel, what action plan do you have for 2021 in this area?
We play an essential role in safety and working condition of the users of our machine, and it goes beyond the design of a reliable and well-designed machine. We also have a role to play at time of use for farmers, for industry, in construction all over the world.
Hervé, we should also be reminded that protecting people and their environment is a principle that is written into our mission.
Yes, our users are spending a lot of time in their machines in a wide range of working conditions or very different environments. And we must be able to guarantee them the best possible safety, even if this happens in some very varied conditions.
Let's head over to Singapore now with Fabia Sugandi, journalist from Southeast Asia Construction.
Hi everyone. But in concrete terms, how do you make your machine safer for the operator as well as for the people around the machine?
Hervé?
Our machines are fitted with sensors, with cameras and accessories which help to protect the driver and the people around the machine. We have also worked on the accessibility of the machine for the maintenance operations. Then we have also finally published videos which show good practices on how to get used and operate machines.
Are these videos publicly available, Aude?
Yes, the Reduce Risk platform is open to everyone. It's free to access. It is available in more than 15 languages. So today, any operator in the world can connect and get a video to improve his safety. Altogether, there are 300 videos available, and the website is adding more all the time. Our goal is that each machine has a digital access to the platform. Safety all over the world is our responsibility, and reduce risk is one of the ways that this responsibility is deployed in practice.
Our last theme, and by no means the least important, is our low carbon trajectory. Can you give us a few details on how we are addressing it?
We conducted our first assessment of the carbon footprint of Manitou in 2011. This year, we calculated working with experts. We want this audit to be completely exhaustive, to be reliable. We really go into detail so that we can include not only production but also transport and also the impact of the machine, the usage of the machine all along its lifetime.
Let's hear a reaction from Manitou Shoko, who works from the South African media Capital Equipment News.
Regarding your low carbon trajectory, what initiatives will you put in place once this audit is completed?
Michel?
Once we have the results, we are going to set targets which are ambitious, an ambitious pathway to reduce our footprint, tying with our roadmap. When I say ambitious, I also mean worldwide, cross-cutting. We have to involve all our employees, all our subsidiaries, and all our stakeholders.
Aude, what levers can we use to reduce our carbon footprint?
What we can see is that the major impact is the use of our product. 89% of the group's emissions are caused by the use of our products, diesel, maintenance. These are therefore the first energy transition levers.
Good. And so what are the other levers?
9% of emissions are caused by inputs, so purchases, in particular raw materials and components. We therefore have to review our purchasing and design with new materials which are sourced differently. Then 2% of our emissions are caused by manufacturing, freight and transport. So on these 2%, levers are energy efficiency of production site and transport optimization.
And so beyond the observation, what actions are you conducting?
So with regard to a major impact, the use of our products, the group has already introduced innovation to reduce consumption. For example, our stop and go, which prevent unnecessary CO2 emission when the machine is idling. We are continuing to work on extending maintenance intervals and oil inputs. And our connected machines are also going to help us find out how our machines are used and enable us to help our clients use them better.
Here is a question from the journalist David Martin, Professional Agro.
Hola a todos. A mí me gustaría saber cómo miden la efectividad de sus acciones para reducir la huella de carbono y cuál es el indicador principal. Gracias.
Aude, you want to answer maybe?
Yes. All these actions are measured in terms of reducing TCO, the total cost of ownership. We are shifting from the cost of purchase to the cost of used. So this famous TCO has already dropped considerably. Since 2017, we had already acted upon 80% of the levers that we had to reduce it. So we are going to have to be disruptive in order to improve it further.
Hervé, I expect that this is also reflected in how you design your products.
Yes, of course. We've been working on eco-design for a long time. And in 2017, we introduced a questionnaire before we even designed a product, which brought us to ask ourselves questions on the choices of material, on their environmental impact, or lots of other aspects. The idea is to have all this thought process upstream. The low carbon goal will reinforce this further.
Is the benefit economic or environmental?
There is a double advantage to do this, both economic and environmental. Between a more expensive component with a low environmental impact and a cheaper component with a higher environmental impact, the design phase must give priority to the first of these two ones. And it is up to us to demonstrate to our stakeholders, to our dealers, to our clients that this is ultimately the best choice. Among our equipment rental companies, this process is already underway. We are perceiving objects in terms of their use and no longer as a transaction.
Unfortunately, the first edition of On the Way Up is now drawing to a close. Aude, how are we going to be able to follow the progress of all these actions that we have heard about today?
We will provide details of our progress next year, and this is something we wish to do every year, openly and transparently.
Hervé?
Yes, and if I may, we have presented to you an ambitious action plan with a deeply transformational approach for our group. And I am deeply convinced that we will going to implement them.
Thank you very much, all of you, for these explanations and for the time that you have given over to us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Frank. I would like to just add a final word.
Yes.
We are doing this because we strongly believe that this is an opportunity for the group. It is its road to the future. And we want to contribute to setting the world in motion and contribute to building a more sustainable industry. This is our vision. This is our humble contribution to multiple and varied projects so that all together we can reach the same global target.
Michel, thank you very much for this conclusion. Thank you, Aude and Hervé.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone for tuning into this first edition of On the Way Up. Thank you also to all our guests. Please join us again in 2022 to hear the first results about this new roadmap. And in the meantime, please stay connected with our latest news on our social media. Enjoy the rest of your day and see you again soon.